Don't start dancing. You're going to make me laugh.
I like to laugh.
Good afternoon and good evening. This is Financial Literacy 101. I'm your host, Ross World. And again, I'm back with Stephen Gardner. How you doing, Stephen?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for asking.
So, just a quick question. During this COVID-19 scare, what is you and your family doing to protect yourselves?
Well, a few years ago, we, got a lot of food storage together and water. But right now, what we're doing is we're just following policy, which is the social distancing. We stayed home from church yesterday. The last 2 days, we've just kind of hunkered down, watched movies, played games, done a little bit of schoolwork. The kids are off school for at least 2 weeks now. So that puts a little bit more pressure on work and my wife, but we're trying to follow the guidelines, washing our hands, keeping it to small groups. Anybody that I have social interaction with is limited. And my first question is, how's everybody feeling? And if anybody says I might've been exposed or I'm not feeling great, we just cancel it and say, you know what, we'll do FaceTime or we'll do it another time.
But what about are you and your wife, when you guys are, take for instance, you and your wife kissing, you guys using saran wrap to?
Oh, no, no, the intimacy is still alive in this house.
Okay. All right. I'm just going to give some people some public service announcement when it comes to COVID-19. I'm going to share my screen here really quickly. All right, guys, this is from World Health Organization by Google. It says, do the 5, hands wash them often, elbow cough into it, face don't touch it, feet stay more than 3 feet apart, and if you feel sick, stay at home. Now with this one, if you feel sick and you have shortness of breath and flu-like symptoms, you probably want to go get screened to make sure you don't have it. So that is, stay at home, but go get checked. I don't know. But anyway, I just wanted to put that out, guys, in case you don't know. I know people have been beating into everyone's head. Now, let's get into the money tips. Okay. So, Stephen, if you can you explain to us what is good and bad debt?
Yeah, this is something that confuses a lot of people. It confused me for many, many years because I grew up on Dave Ramsey believing that all debt was bad.
Yes.
And as I gained more financial experience and read more and more books, went to seminars, workshops, started to rub elbows with wealthier people, I realized that there really is a difference between good debt and bad debt. So the simplest way to put it, Ray, is if a debt takes money away from your wallet, it's a bad debt. If it's a good debt, it puts money in your wallet. Okay, so I'll give you a couple of examples. There are ongoing debts, right? I call those monthly bills. Every month I owe on the water. Every month I owe on gas, electricity. They don't call it a debt because it doesn't have an end. Where like my Visa or my MasterCard or American Express, it has an end in mind, and every 30 days they're collecting interest and then and principal. So those would be considered a bad debt, consumer debt, where you've spent tomorrow's money for today's need or today's want, and depending on how much you spend and the interest rate, that's going to take money out of your pocket for many, many years or many, many months. The example of a good debt, which is the debt that I try to secure more of, is something like real estate, right? Where now somebody else is going to pay on that debt for me. Mm-hmm. And there's going to be a surplus that I get to take off and put in my wallet, right?
I call that profit.
Exactly. Profits every single month, right? So that would be the simplest example of good debt. Also within business, there may be, you might do like a hard money loan where you're lending money to somebody, but you're secured by a physical asset or some kind of secured
Collateral.
promise. But that debt is creating income for you and your business or your money. The world functions on debt, right? And
Definitely.
there's two sides to it. I learned this from a very, very young age because my scoutmaster was a very, very wealthy business owner. And he used to tell me all the time, be on the right side of the interest equation. Now, I
Okay.
picked up on this very young as a teenager, right?
Mhm.
I went through, living in debt, credit cards, wondering if I was going to have to file bankruptcy. I've been through all of that, and we moved away from that, and now we've lowered that debt, and we have good debt that is creating income or allows me to function as a human being. That is still good debt, even though it's kind of in that gray area. An example of that would be my car, right? I drive a Jeep and I need that Jeep to get to appointments to make money.
Yes.
But at the same time, it is a debt that takes money out of my pocket, right?
And doesn't
So
put money back in.
you just have to decide, okay, do I need a Ferrari that's a quarter of
Yes,
a million
I do
dollars?
need a Ferrari.
I knew you
Was,
would want one.
was that a question? I'm sorry.
Do I need a Ferrari to get from A to B and make money? If the answer is yes, and I can, then I get a Ferrari. In most cases, in my case, I don't need a Ferrari. I need a car
Um,
that gets me from A to B, and I can use to make money, take care of my family, enjoy life. Those are kind of gray area debts. But as long as you aren't living beyond your means with those debts, then I think that they're okay.
that's a good point. I think that, I can play around with this. So I can say that a home equity loan is good debt, right? Because you can really profit from that. But take for instance, if I went out and I took out a loan for 30,000 to buy a classic car, right? And I know maybe 10 years from now, that classic car may be worth 35, 40,000. What would you say to someone who actually used that analogy?
If you know that it's going to be, if you can buy it for less and know that you're going to make more in the future, then that to me is an investment and a business opportunity that happens to be collateralized by debt. If you're buying it hoping that your car is going to be worth more in the future, that's speculation because 99% of cars are not going to be worth more in the future. Even my car, I don't put a lot of miles on it. It goes down in value every single year. But if I can use it like a tool that makes me money, then I think it's okay. But so again, that's one of those gray area things. I think one of the best investments is always just that next tank of gas, right? That gets you to your job,
That's true.
that
In
allows you
order for
to
you to
make
make
that
money.
money. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean, essentially, the two words that revolve around in my mind is it an asset or a liability? And cars are huge liabilities that, don't essentially do, anything for you.
Yeah.
Some people may look at homes as an asset, but it really depends. Um, Take, for instance, if you bought a home for a year and it didn't build any equity from the amount that you bought it from, then essentially, if you sold it, either you're breaking even or you're losing out, and it's a liability. Because most people would tell you need to hold a property anywhere from 3 to 5 years to make some sort of profit off of it.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think the 1 year mark is even pretty short unless you're doing like value add or a flip. But if it's
Definitely.
just you buying and then moving on, in most cases, your property isn't going to appreciate more than what you're going to pay a realtor the commission to sell.
Definitely.
So yeah, you just have to be careful that way. Like for example, my own home, I consider it a liability for the majority of the home, but I also have my home office, which gives me a lot of business write offs. It gives me a place to produce income for my family. In that case, that portion of my house is absolutely an asset and a good investment for me. But other than that, it's just taking money away from my pocket. But it's one of those things where it's like, I need this to live. Then it comes down to how much square footage do I need? What area do I want to live in? Right.
Definitely.
Like a boat is very different than a house. I don't need a boat. I want a boat, but I don't need a boat. Right. So, you just have to really understand. You almost have to understand wants and needs as much as you understand good debt and bad debt. But at the end
Definitely.
of the
I can't
day,
agree with you more.
yeah,
Definitely.
at the end of the day, good debt will make you money. Bad debt will take money away from you.
Okay, so let's move the conversation into this gift card thing. Now, I have a I have a Gap credit card, right? That if I use, I get points or whatever. And I remember your video on your channel. And what's the name of your channel? Stephen Gardner. This is your name,
Yeah,
correct?
if people do Stephen Gardner, Stephen with a PH, Gardner, I believe I'm the first one to come up. But
Okay,
yeah, actually, you know what? Now I think about it, I was wearing the same vest when I talked about that credit card video.
nice. So, in that credit card video, you talk about how you earned $1,700 in free gift cards from Old Navy and Gap. Can you explain to us how we can get in on this?
Yeah, middle America and lower class America, they need this. Like I didn't grow up in poverty, but we probably grew up lower middle class. My mother was a school teacher, and we had six people in the family. And but as my wife and I, we have three kids. We got married young, age 22. We've been married for 15 years. And all my friends around me, they're buying these, or they're buying with these travel cards,
Hmm,
and you have to spend like $50,000 to get a ticket, right?
you
And
do.
I'm thinking, okay, I don't know when I'm going to spend 50 grand on a credit card. Number one, and number two, if that just gets me a flight from here to LA, like I can just buy that, like
Definitely.
right now. This is a great time to buy airline tickets for a future vacation.
I've been saying it. I've been saying
Everything's
it.
on fire sale.
Yes.
So, but for us, you plan a trip, and you fly. Let's say like you fly to Texas quite a lot, right?
Okay.
It's maybe three or $400, right? But if
Yes.
I fly with a family of five, I'm looking at 2 grand to get someplace, right? So we
Definitely.
we drive a lot of places as a family. It's a good bonding time. So what I needed clothes because my kids were outgrowing their clothes and shoes every couple months, right? They're just in that growth phase. And so my wife signed up for this Old Navy Gap visa, and we just started running as many things through that as we could. And I wasn't paying attention. And then last year I was like, okay, wait a minute. I pay my credit card off every month, trying to be wise with my money.
Yep.
But I spent no money in interest, and I had $1,500 in gift cards. And I was like, okay, wait a minute.
So, on your card, or what they sent you in the mail?
So they send you a certificate. The first year we had to bring in this certificate anytime we went to Old Navy, Old Gap, or Banana Republic, or online. And
Oh,
then
that's all one company, even Banana Republic.
Banana Republic and Athleta are all one company. Now,
Okay.
Gap and Old Navy will be splitting off. Well, we'll see with the economy. Their plan is to split off because Old Navy is outperforming the Gap right now.
I do
So
like Old Navy better.
yeah, they've actually raised their game. They used to be on the cheaper side, but now they're using better quality material. But so for us, I was like, okay, wow, I definitely did not spend $50,000. I don't know what I spent. So,
Okay.
but I definitely did not spend $50,000. And now I had these $1,500 in gift cards, and they come every month, right? So it's basically like between 1 and 200 a month, and then you have, I think, 6 months to go out and spend them. So when my daughter has a birthday, we're getting stuff at Old Navy and Gap. When we have a birthday party, we're going to Old Navy or Gap. When somebody in the neighborhood has a baby and we go to a baby shower, we're going to Old Navy or Gap, right? So
Yeah.
it was like, hey, we were going to spend the money anyway. why not get a bigger bang for our buck and then be able to give people something of value that they can use for a long time, right?
Yeah.
Versus like, hey, I took one flight or I got one meal. It's like, hey, I have this Old Navy sweater. It lasted me 5 years. Or I've got these shoes that I didn't have to spend $25 out of my paycheck on. And then now when my kid outgrows them in 3 months, I can give them to somebody else and not feel bad because I got those just by spending as much as I could through my card. Now, I don't just spend for spending's sake because the
Okay.
math doesn't work out, right? But if you're going to spend it anyway, you might as well get a reward, right? So
True.
this last year, 2019, we were just over $1,700 in gift cards, and we used that thing every single month.
So what the gift card? What could you use the gift cards for? Is it you only can use them in Old Navy?
Yeah, so it's their own money.
Okay.
They've basically
Oh, I
created
know what you're talking about
yeah,
now.
they've
Okay.
created their own currency, right? So I go in with my voucher and my credit card, and I
Yes.
pick up a new pair of shoes, a V-neck sweater, a nice polo shirt underneath, and some jeans, and it comes
Wow.
to $140. Then my wife runs her card and all the discounts, and it comes down to, let's say, $80.
Yeah.
And then we spend $50 of the free gift card, and I'm out of pocket $30 for $150 worth of clothes.
I should really use my card.
Well, it's
Because
nice. Again, it comes down to like, okay, I have a gas card. Do I need 10 cents off a gallon, which saves me $1, or do I need to buy this and I get a $5 gift certificate to spend, uh, you know, 30 days from now at Old Navy or Gap?
oh,
Again,
when do they expire? When does these gift certificate expire
they
actually?
typically give you about 6 months. Yeah, so if I get $100 today, I don't have to spend that until the middle of September.
Wow.
Now,
Okay.
now my wife likes to shop, so it doesn't last 30 days, but it could last 6 months.
I understand. So
Yeah.
it probably lasts a little under 30 days because she's going out and buying something.
Oh yeah. Well, Gap and Old Navy were smart. Like they ping her phone. You got money to spend. Ba-ding. So she goes and spends it. But you know what? Again, it's saving me money. We're not just spending money to spend money. We're already gonna spend the money. Why not get a bigger bang for your buck and then clothe your kids or buy gifts for family and friends?
So you're using your Old Navy card, your Gap card everywhere.
Just as much as I can, right? So like I can't pay my mortgage. Maybe there's a way to circumvent that. I haven't figured it out, but uh, like anytime I fill up gas, anytime I do groceries, anytime I do repairs, water bill, electric bill, car repairs, health insurance allows me to do that. So anyway, you just have to go on and figure out who are all the people, and then what I do is I just retain that money in my bank account, and then on the 18th of the month I take that out and I pay it all off at once. Again, I was going to spend the money anyway.
You
Why
was,
not get it?
yeah.
Why not get an extra credit for it?
And I have a Venture One card that I use exactly the way you use your Old Navy card. And like you were saying, I have to spend 50, $60,000 in order to get a free flight. I think I'm really going to switch to using my Old Navy card because that's where I go and actually buy a lot of my khaki pants,
Yeah.
some sweaters here and there. But
Well,
moving along, I
oh yeah, go
actually
ahead.
want to get into this real estate thing. I'm itching to get into this real estate thing that you have
Okay.
this great information on. Um, Tell us, how can we use this permanent life insurance cash value account in order to, as money down to buying real estate, would it be, a duplex, a triplex, or apartment building, a single family home, a townhouse, a double wide, a triple wide, if they have triple wides, I don't know. But anyway, tell us how we can use this permanent life insurance cash value account
Okay.
for real estate.
Yeah, feel free to ask me because I've done real estate just on my own without the be your own bank insurance contracts, and I've done it within. So, but for those that don't know, I wrote the book Taming Wall Street. Right now, Wall Street is getting hammered over the head. And for some people, it hurts really bad. For others, this is a great time to buy. I'm super conservative. I don't like to gamble or feel like I'm gambling. And so for me, the strategies in Taming Wall Street are the way that I take advantage of the upside of Wall Street and I avoid all the losses. So the programs I put people into, nobody's ever lost any money in those programs, not during 2007, 2008, 2009, not during 2015, and not today. So it's a
Let me
good.
just interject if you don't mind, Stephen. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to put you out there, Stephen. I don't know if he's offering free books today, but on our last video, he offered, I think, roughly about 20 free books. It's about 115 pages, a very, very informative and easy read, FYI. So I don't know if you're giving out free books today, Stephen, but let us know.
So it's available on Amazon. They can look that up, or if they go watch that other video, I think you have a link in there to
Okay.
yourbridgeplan.com/Ross World, I think is what it is. We could give away one or two.
Okay.
We had quite a few people take advantage of that last time.
Nice.
So within the context of these banking plans, what we're doing is we're saying, okay, two things are certain in life: death and taxes. And I want to avoid certain things so that I can become wealthy. I need to avoid market loss so that I'm not wasting time and going backwards. I need to legally avoid taxes. I want my money to grow every single year. And I need liquid access to my money for emergencies and opportunities. And that's what this book is going to show people how to do. Okay. So within that program, we're going to build up a living benefit program over a number of years where it's like a savings program, but if we die, your family immediately gets a big lump sum of completely tax-free money. If you live, then you have access to that money during your lifetime to be able to go and own your own debt, or in this case, real estate, right? So I'll give you an example. We borrowed money out of one of our plans a couple of years ago, and we went and bought a property up in northern Utah. And we did very well with that. And we used it as a down payment, right? So for me, I went and got a mortgage, and then my plan was the second mortgage, right?
Okay.
So I was using OPM, other people's money.
Other people's money.
Right. Yep. My money was still growing inside of the life insurance contract at around 5% tax free. So I'm using this money as this is what I call good debt and really good debt, right? So as somebody else paid that mortgage, I made a payment to the mortgage company. I made a payment to my insurance company, and then that money went back into my plan, right? And then whatever was left over, those profits, that's what I was taking home. That's what I was keeping for repairs or whatever we wanted to do with that money. So in this case, I was able to use that money inside of my life insurance contract to help me with the down payment. Okay. But in the meantime, my money kept growing as if it were never gone. And then because I bought an investment with that money, the interest that I'm paying to the insurance company for borrowing that money, I get a tax write-off.
Wow.
So I get to write that off on my taxes. I get to write the interest from this mortgage off on my taxes, and I get to make a profit using somebody else's money. That's the power of doing real estate the right way.
Nice.
Okay. So, but in the real world, and again, I've done both. You can use your own money. Let's say you have money sitting at the bank earning 0.1% right now. It may make sense to buy a rental property. It may make sense to do a flip or a hard money loan, right? Because you're going to be able to go out and earn higher than what the bank is going to be able to give you. And so it's knowing how to use what the bank is offering. Too many people are using the savings aspect of the bank and not the cheap debt aspect of the bank. And when it comes to real estate, that's what it comes down to: is how much is this debt going to cost me compared to a reasonable amount of rent, and whatever the difference is, I get to keep. So that's kind of the real estate in a nutshell. But with the Taming Wall Street, I do have some examples of using that for real estate, and the power of it is I get to use that money in two places at the same time and earn in two places at the same time, and that has helped to propel wealth forward for my clients and for my wife and I. But I have clients that do this very regularly. I would say most of them do it with a car or a business more than real estate, but I
Okay.
do have several that are doing it in real estate. I think real estate is a great, as long as you make your money when you buy the deal, then you'll be okay. Then I think it's a great opportunity to go out and use good debt as a weapon to your advantage.
Okay. So I have a couple of questions for you then,
Yes.
because I don't want people to think that you can only use this money for real estate. So one, what is some of the uses I can use this money for in one of these cash value permanent life insurance account? What would you call the bare minimum? And also, if I was to take money out, are there any penalties or any negative things that may occur because I did so?
Okay. Let's see. There's a few questions. Let me see if I remember them all. Okay.
Okay.
So first things first is it's your money. The insurance company is not going to tell you how to use it. So I'll just give you a few ideas of what I've used it and maybe a few of what my clients have used it for. So the number one thing that people do is they just leave it alone and just let it grow and compound at 5 or
Which is the
6%
best thing.
interest,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But I figure why not double dip? And because I understand it, I like to do that. So, but you can just let it sit and grow. And if you think about it, if you get a 5% return without tax, that's equivalent to a 7% return with tax,
True.
right? So legally avoiding that tax is a big deal. But I've used it for multiple cars that I have paid off,
Okay.
and I've used it for rental properties, a couple of rental properties. I've used it for hard money loans. I used it for the birth of one of my children.
Nice.
I used it to take my family to Puerto Rico for 10 days.
Oh, hold
Uh,
on. Let's stop.
3 or 4 years ago. That was neat to be able to show. I lived there for a couple of years, and so it's fun to be able to show my kids where I lived. I've had clients use it for businesses. I had a doctor back east, a real nice gentleman, and he was what's the word? An employee doctor, right?
Okay.
Meaning he worked for a different doctor, and he decided he wanted to open his own eye clinic. He was able to leverage his life insurance contract in two different ways in order to open his own facility, right? The
Yeah.
first one was they said, "You got to put up some money, Dr. K." And he was like, "Oh man, where am I going to get this money?" He calls me. I say, "Hey, you've got money from saving inside of your plan for 4 or 5 years. Why don't you borrow against a portion of that and use that as the down payment?" Okay. So now instead of the bank having to come up with the full amount of the loan, they had to come up with a smaller amount of the loan because he put some skin in the game, right?
Yes.
The other thing was they said, okay, to minimize our risk of this not working out, we want to be named as a beneficiary on the policy until the loan is paid back. And so
Ah.
he was able to add them. So here's what happens. If he dies, the bank isn't coming to the wife saying, "You owe us all this debt money, pay us back." That they say, "Hey, you get a part of the death benefit, we get a part of the death benefit, and we forgive the loan because it's paid off. You go about your way. We're sorry about your loss, and we'll go about our way." So he was actually able to use it in two ways. I have another doctor client down in Texas. He owns 6 medical clinics, and
Wow.
he actually gets them to give him very cheap loans based on the death benefit. Now, he's the only one I know that's been able to talk a bank into this, but they do that for him, and that's allowed him to expand. But I have a client that owns 2 Chick-fil-A's. They just use theirs for both of their car payments, right?
That's it.
I have another client in Connecticut. She buys and flips real estate, and she uses the money out of her plan not for the down payment, but for the repairs. And then when she
For the
sells it, she
rehab.
puts her
Okay.
principal back in, and whatever gain she can, she puts back in there as well. So those are just a few examples. You know, I've written 7 financial books, and I've self-published every single one through Amazon. And I'm the one that put up the money. I actually borrowed from my own life insurance contract to fund that money in order to get my books to the market. So that's another way that I've used my own plan.
So what would you say is, first of all, do I need a down payment to get inside of one of these plans? And two, what is one, a regular amount that people may deposit? And what is the minimum amount that someone needs to deposit?
I would say the minimum is probably $100 a month.
Okay.
If we go lower than that, it just there's other things I could point people towards. I'll say that.
Okay.
I would say a good rule of thumb would be your age times 10. So if somebody is 40, then they should probably be able to save, 40 times 10 is 400. They
400.
should be
Yeah.
able to save $400 a month. And we can look at that. But I have people that range from $100 a month up to $250,000 a year. It just depends on the person. It's all about ratios. So it's not like the guy with the $250,000 does that much better than the person doing $100 a month. They just have more because they placed more, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now,
So
is there a amount, is there a down payment that I need to get into one of these accounts?
nope.
Or can I give a lump sum? Can I just give you $10,000 and throw in there?
You could do a lump sum. I would just call that an annual payment.
Okay.
I don't usually like to do like a big lump and then annual that's smaller, or month to month that's smaller. The reason being is it's a little bit too complicated to go into right now. But um, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to put the maximum amount of cash into the cash side of this plan and the smallest amount into the death benefit, right? So if I put in $100,000 and then every year after that, only $10,000 a year, in order to hold that 100,000, I've got to artificially bump that death benefit way higher than I normally would so that we can, get that money in. But then you're going to have too small of an amount to really justify that the rest of the year. So in that case, somebody might go, okay, I'm going to just do 30,000 the first 3 years and then 10,000 a year after that. Or they may say, hey, let's put this into your other strategy, the growth focused plan that doesn't have the insurance attached to it. And then let's just go $10,000 a year or $833 a month. Or if you're like most Americans, around your age times 10, I'm 30 years old, $300 a month between now and age 65 or age 70, you're going to have a massive multiple 6-figure nest egg of tax-free money. And you're going to be able to use the majority of that all along the way to create more wealth for your family. So it's not a matter of down payment. It's just think of it like a savings program, right? You don't need a down payment for your savings program. You don't need a down payment for this. What we want is the habit of saving money every single month or every single year for at least 10 years or more. That's where we're going to get the best advantages in this program.
Now, take for instance, if I had $30,000 and I wanted to go out and buy me a car, which is the most worst thing you can ever do with money you're trying to save up. But nonetheless, I want to go out and buy this car at $15,000. So explain to me, as I'm taking that $15,000 out one of these cash values account to go buy my vehicle, one, does my account only have $15,000 left? Two, what is the penalty if I don't pay the money back?
Okay. So you have 30,000 that you have built up in your plan, and we're going to borrow 15,000. Your 30,000 is going to remain earning interest as if it were never gone. The insurance group is going to give you a $15,000 loan out of their own general account, and they're going to use your 30,000 and your death benefit as collateral. Okay. So they're going to charge you around 5% on that $15,000, but your full 30 continues to earn that on that full amount of money. Okay.
Wow.
So then as you make a payment back, let's say your payment's $500. I'm just making this up, right?
Okay.
So I make a $500 payment that goes in. Now I still have the 30,000, but I only have 14,500 that I owe, which means I now have 15,500 of equity that I could borrow against if I had a future emergency or something come up. And then I'm just going to pay that 15,000 off over the next 3, 5, 7 years, whatever loan repayment schedule you come up with. Now, if you can't make a payment 1 month or 6 months, whatever it is, they're not going to penalize you. They're not going to repo the car. They're not even going to call you, but you are going to have that interest calculate just like any debt, right? So, for example, let me just take out a calculator here.
Sure.
15,000.
Because I'm thinking if that interest calculates like that, doesn't it eventually start eating to the money that I have inside the cash value account?
Yes and no. It's kind of like a wash because even if you're hit on one, it's like algebra. If I'm hit on one side, I've got to take the hit on the other side. You're still earning over here, right?
Yeah.
You're just not decreasing the debt on this side, and you're not opening up new equity on this side. So you would absolutely be okay. And I've had this happen. I've had this happen to me where I had to go a couple of months without making a payment, and nobody bugs me or anything. But so let's go back to my example, right? So now I've made a $500 payment. I owe 14,500, and there's some interest gathering there. If I don't make a payment for 5 months, I still owe 14,500. But then I make a payment for 500. Now I only owe 15, or excuse me, now I only owe 14,000 because I made 500 towards that, right?
Nice.
So it's a little bit more complicated. That's why, going through the book or working with me personally, I walk through in so much detail, and I show people the math and help them understand that. But basically, you have to look at it as your own money. Okay, so here's a better example. Okay, let's say you have $30,000 in your bank account.
Okay.
I don't care what it's earning. As soon as I extract and remove $30,000, what happens right here is you immediately stop earning interest on that money.
Exactly.
Because you've taken it off of the bank's ledger. They can no longer make money on your money, and it's gone. It's over, right? So you've now bought an asset that's going to go down in value every single month. Where over here, regardless of how I pay it back, if I take all of that out, it's still here. I don't have the collateral to borrow more, but I still have the asset earning on the full 30,000, right? Now can you see my calculator here?
I can.
You take 30,000 times the 5%, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In 5 years, you would be up $8,288. If you took that 30,000 out of the bank paying you 5%, then not only do you have an asset that's worth half as much 5 years later, but you missed out on $8,800 in interest.
And $8,800 sounds great.
Yeah, it's just we've gotten so used to these crummy interest rates at the bank that we've forgotten what even 5% compounding.
I agree.
Yeah.
They're horrible.
And look at what they did on Sunday to try to salvage the stock market. Of course, it didn't work. They cut the interest rate to nearly zero.
What day was that? Was that Thursday?
That was Sunday afternoon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so about 24 hours ago, they did that, and so debt is going to become cheaper to try to prop up this economy right now. But yeah, so it's bad news. My point is the banks are not where you're going to grow your wealth, and that's why so many people went into the stock market, and that's why there was this huge surge, is because it was like, okay, I can safely earn nothing here, or I can take some risk and earn much higher over here.
Yeah, 10, 15 times the amount. Correct.
Exactly. Yeah. So.
All right, Stephen, before we get out of here, I just want you to let us know about you have a couple of books, any book you want to promote, as well as your YouTube channel, and also the information we need to contact the personnel to get inside of one of these accounts.
Yeah, so they can go to my website, yourbridgeplan.com.
Okay.
And they can get in contact with me if they want to learn more. The book is available on Amazon. It's not very much. I've made it affordable on purpose, but I think most people owe it to themselves to at least look into it. And here's the number one reason why. We know that every single human on the planet will die, right? We don't know what's going to happen with the stock market when the bell rings tomorrow. We don't know what's going to happen, with our children, with our jobs, whatever. We know we will die. And so if you can get into something that will guaranteed pay your family money on something we know will guaranteed happen, we just don't know when it will happen, right?
True.
That's a huge deal. And if the way that I structure it, if you die, you create a large lump sum of tax-free money. If you don't die, which is what we hope for a while, then there's all these living benefits that I can show people how to use to their advantage.
Nice.
So check out yourbridgeplan.com. You can find me on YouTube, Stephen with a PH, Gardner, Stephen Gardner. But this has been fun, man. Check out that bigger bang for your buck credit card stuff. Understand the difference between good debt and bad debt. And then real estate is a great opportunity. Right now, I'll just say one thing, cautionary tale. You just have to be very careful. The real estate market is very hard to find good deals right now. It doesn't mean that they're not out there, but just make sure that you understand what you're doing. Make sure you triple check your math.
Definitely.
But it can be a great way to build wealth. It creates more millionaires than any other industry. And so it's definitely worth understanding. But right now, at least here in Utah and in most of the states I'm looking in, the property values are just very, very high.
Very high. Well, thank you, Stephen. I appreciate your knowledge and your time and your money tips. This is Financial Literacy 101. Learn money and be inspired. Thank you, Stephen, once again. I'll talk to you soon.